Well, how goes it, y'all? Welcome back to Consciously Unconscious. Me, Mayu here. It has been at least a month. I know. I tend to make videos and then I stray away and I come back telling y'all it's been a minute. But I know the last time I made a video, I was saying how my house flooded and just all hell had broken loose. So since then, I have finally moved and things are what they are. Okay, I will talk about that a little later in the video, but quick announcements. Yay, the website is finally up. So if you would like to schedule an appointment with me, you can do so at consciouslyunconscious.me. And some of the services that you can get is a little bit of energy healing, trying to understand how you are being blocked energetically and what you are manifesting in your life, because as you know, I talk about how we have the power to manifest and create our own reality. And I'm sure if you're watching this channel, you've probably heard that on somebody else's channel before as well. And also with understanding that, then you can set some goals to try and remove blocks. Okay, excuse me, y'all. To not try, but some of goals to work toward removing blocks and understanding what you are calling into your energetic sphere, as well as you can do a DISC personality assessment. And what this tells you is how you behave in your environment and with others on a scientific level. If you want to delve more into the metaphysical side of it, or the how you were created at birth, then you can schedule a numerology report with aspects of astrology in it as well. If you would like to do both, the DISC and the numerology, to understand yourself on a more comprehensive level, then you can also schedule that. And I know that we tell ourselves we know ourselves. I know everything there is to know about me, but I learn something new about myself every day. Just like everything in life, you are ever evolving, and there are aspects to you that you might not necessarily be tapping into, and there are forces outside of yourself that are also changing you. So you see I have these cards here, which is what I'm going to talk about. So this is like universe. The universe is also making you evolve. God, spirit, however you acknowledge your higher power, or your higher self, you are ever evolving. And there are some things that might not be readily available to you consciously, right? So that's sort of kind of what the coaching will bring forth. It's also good for your children. I am a huge advocate for doing these things for your babies, because it'll help you tap into them at an early age. And even if you have teenagers, it's good to help them, because they are about to get out into this world on their own. And at least it kind of helps them navigate and understand themselves at a deeper level. And some of their natural talents, yeah, we tap into those natural talents every day, but there are just things that we are not always aware of in our energy sphere, okay? What's going on in our DNA. So if you want to book appointments for any of those things, again, you can go ahead and go to consciouslyunconscious.me. I also do tarot readings and oracle readings, and just numerology overall. You can find out what's going on with you for the year, what's going on with you for the month. I do a little bit of astrology as well. And that's that quick announcement. So again, consciouslyunconscious.me, and we can chit chat about some stuff. So today what I wanted to delve in and talk about was the month of May. So about October or November of last year, I started to get some downloads about the month of May 2019, and it kept coming in pieces, in waves, and so I wasn't understanding it fully. Now, I'm a fire sign. I got a lot of fire in my chart, and so without fully understanding and just hearing things like war, because war is one of the main things that kept coming up when it came to May, but again, I wasn't fully understanding. So I took to Facebook and I made a post about how May 2019 we would be warring amongst ourselves, and that's when let's just say the enemy would come in, or outside forces would come in and start to wreak havoc. This was true, but not in the sense that I was understanding it. And I started to fully understand maybe around 2 or 3 weeks ago. So this is why, if you are getting downloads, it is paramount that you take some time to go within and make sure that you are getting a full understanding. And sometimes you can even go within and meditate and get, you still don't fully understand. And this is kind of what happens with interpretations in the Bible when you talk about the wars and rumors of wars, and how people related that information because they probably didn't have full understanding, because the way that I'm learning spirit works is that you get things in waves, okay? You get pieces. So the war was definitely a global war, but it's a global war that's internal to everybody. Everybody is shifting. The vibration of the planet is shifting. And everybody is ascending. Even if they don't realize they are ascending, we are ascending to a different consciousness, a higher consciousness, a more open awareness of what is going on around us universally. People are waking up to the fact that they have been under control all this time, and things have just been false, okay? Not everybody understands what's happening with them. So then you have those of us who are here to try and help others who are not fully understanding what's going on to understand, right? So with May, May is the 5th month, okay? And 5 is about change and freedom of expression and love. It is the center of the soul compass. I talked about that in a previous video, but I will draw it right here real quick. Okay, just so you all see it here. So you have the soul compass in numerology, right? You have your physical plane, or the self plane, whatever you want to call it. Well, not whatever you want to call it, but the physical and the self plane, right? And then you have the soul plane, or the higher self plane. And then you have the conscious plane, or the conscious self and the thinking plane, right? So 5 is in the middle, dead smack in the middle. And this is what we have to come to, right? So you have your lower, your higher, but you are truly balanced when you are in the middle. This is why this is called the conscious plane, or I'm sorry, the higher self plane, because it's in the middle. And this is what you need to align. So you're reconciling your dark, your light, your left brain, your right brain, all of your chakras, So your root, sacral, solar plexus, your throat, third eye, and your good Lord, your crown. Goodness, it wasn't coming to me. You are reconciling all of those to come to the middle, to your heart chakra, right? And 5 is dead smack in the middle of your soul plane. It touches everything, right? So we are in a 5-month. That's why May was very significant, because it's, like I said, about change, freedom of expression, and love, because it's right in the middle of everything. That's your heart center. Everything around us is based in unconditional love. And when you can reconcile your dark and your light, you come to an understanding of self. You are able to be objective and not judge something as good or bad, because everything is from a level of perspective. And I believe wholeheartedly that that's what this whole ascension journey is about, is understanding, first off, not to be judgmental of others. And even when you are judging yourself, don't be so hard on yourself. So when you are making this judgment, it's just a judgment to come to a decision about something, not necessarily judging something as good or bad, right? Because you need polarity to make a whole, okay? You need a left and a right to make something whole. You need a dark and a light, because without it, what? You wouldn't really understand the light if you didn't have the dark to look into, okay? You wouldn't understand the fullness of love without understanding fear. Hope that's making sense. Okay, so these cards on the table, I want to talk about these for a second. Before I get there, let me just try and wrap up the May thing. May, as far as war goes, and it's an inner war, because we are constantly battling ourselves, right? Trying to understand our dark and our light, the duality within, and how we judge things. So even all of that I just said, it was still, that's what we are going through on a global scale, because globally we are experiencing a 3-year, right? And the number 3 is about your rationale, learning, understanding, and connecting mind, body, and soul. So there's that. This year also, we have quite a few significant retrogrades with planets that, with the outer planets that kind of shift you at a soul level. Okay, so you have the inner planets, and I don't want to like get too deep on this. Let me drink a little bit of tea. Hold on. So you have the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Those dictate your personality, how you behave on a day-to-day basis, right? So then Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are you at a soul level. It's not the personality, it's not the ego, and there's nothing wrong with ego, but you have to tame the ego. Again, I'll talk about that a little bit further in the video. So you have Jupiter that went retrograde, Saturn went retrograde, and Pluto went retrograde in April. Then Neptune will be going retrograde in the first half of June, I believe. And then Uranus will be going retrograde in like the first half of August. Okay. Then you have solar and lunar eclipses happening in July. sometime, I believe it's sometime July. Okay, and all of these are significant events. I have Venus here because we are in the month of May. May is Taurus. Venus rules Taurus, and Venus is, you know, love, pleasures, fine arts, right? So let me go back to the year 3. Let me make this connect. With the year 3, what did I say? 3 represents your rationale, learning, understanding, and connecting mind, body, and spirit. It is also the beginning of the conscious plane. You know, your conscious self is the beginning of that, right? And so the sacred geometrical shape for the number 3 is the triangle. And with the triangle, you know, it has the element of fire because the triangle represents the element of fire. So with that, let me set this here for a second. The number 3 also carries with it desire and your creativity, what you want, right? So, but first, 3 is going to challenge you. Okay, so with it being a 3 year, it wants you to get real. I also have another card that because I don't have any numerology cards themselves, I picked out a card that had the number 3 and it was perfect, right? I did this for the number 5 and 8 too because those are significant. So with this number 3, we have acceptance. And that's significant because that's what 3 is. The number 3 is about aligning your mind, body, and soul, or mind, body, and spirit, and accepting what is true for you. And that's what the month of May is all about. That's why it's like that inner war, because we are being forced to realize what benefits us, what we really want, accepting what we need to let go of, and what doesn't work for us anymore, be it relationships, jobs, even with family and friends. You know, sometimes those, even though they're blood and we love these people, they just cannot be with us as we go to a higher level because they haven't made it to where you are. It doesn't mean you have to just completely cut them out, but to say that you can be around them constantly might not work out for you. It might drain you energetically, okay? So then when you get to the fire side of the 3, that's when it goes into you bring into life those things that you want to bring to life, right? And creating the life that you want. So that's why in previous videos I said we are in it. When I talked about us being in the year 3, I said that it was about making the things that you want or manifesting the things that you want. But first, it's going to make you face some truth, right? And so then you have the first 3 planets that went retrograde in April: Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. And as you see, the card says Jupiter is about abundance, Saturn is about truth, and Pluto is about transformation. And while that is true, there's more to these planets than it. Okay, so Jupiter is about expansion, religion, happiness, and optimism. But Jupiter is also about teaching. And like I said, it was about learning. And while Jupiter does bring expansion and abundance, it is a teaching planet. So first it's going to teach you about some things that obviously you need to learn. So it's a teaching planet. Before it expands you, you have to learn some things. It's like a teacher can't become a teacher without learning some lessons first, right? And so people always, you hear all the good of Jupiter and all of that, but Jupiter comes with lessons. Okay. So does Saturn. Saturn is making you face your truth. It's about responsibility, maturity, and facing reality. That's that acceptance. Okay. So Saturn and Jupiter together are teaching you some lessons. Now Jupiter kind of curves some of the blows that Saturn can bring to you with facing responsibility and, you know, the need to grow up. But it is still there to teach you. It just kind of eases you into it, right? Because it's about optimism and being happy. So it's while you have to face your truth and become more mature, Jupiter is like, okay, but let me just give you a little bit of a reward for all the hard work that you are about to go through, right? And so then you have Pluto, which is about rebirth, renewal, and your resources. And like I said, transformation. One second, I need to drink again. So with those three planets, right, that's major. Then you have a number 3 and a number 5. So 3, 5, truth, maturity, transformation, learning. That's a huge deal. So this is like serious war. Like, think about it. Think about how you go back and forth with yourself on, let's just say, a relationship with somebody. You give them chance after chance, and you know full well that it's not healthy. It's not taking you anywhere. You're not moving on. This is kind of like that whole, I don't want to bring up I'm bringing up the twin flame journey, but it's a little different. But even in that twin flame journey, you are learning something that is helping you to evolve into self-love, self-care, rest, and understanding who you are apart from another person. Okay. But that relationship can sometimes be a little overwhelming. Okay. So in those terms, that's where I'm saying we are warring within ourselves, but it's a beautiful war because it's bringing us more to our authenticity and who we are as an individual. Okay. Which brings me again to the number 5, which was perfect. It's about individuality. And with 5 being, you know, the freedom of expression, the universe is trying to bring you to express yourself, be yourself in this world so that you can get on your path and your mission for whatever it is. Healing, teaching, even learning. Okay. So then you have Neptune, which you see the card says sacrifice, but Neptune is also about your dreams, illusions, and what inspires you. And Uranus is about originality, progress, awakening, and, you know, genius is kind of like when lightning strikes. Okay. And like, I give this the energy of the Tower. Okay. But I don't think that's what this one is, but I want to say it is. But it's like that swift change, just swift action coming in and you're changing. But you also have Venus with the month of May, which is asking you to pay attention to your relationships and who you are and what it is that makes you comfortable. So May is kind of asking you to be a little self-centered. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with being self-centered. It's a problem with being selfish. Okay, you don't want to be selfish, but to be self-centered is to focus on self first and understand your boundaries, your limitations, what you are capable of. So that's what the month of May is about. That 5 is asking you to fully recognize what is going on with you. Okay. And that brings, and 3 and 5 equals 8. And 8 is about division. Like I said, I just spirit worked these cards out pretty perfect with what was on them for the numbers, right? So you are creating this year the life that you want and fully coming into truth of self, what works for you and what doesn't work for you, so that you can create what is for your highest good and the highest good of all. And with the eclipses are all about change, like it says, revolution and change, and shifting. Okay, and you are going to feel the effects of these eclipses. Probably it can be starting now. You can start to feel the effects of eclipses a few months before they actually happen. And even with planets going retrograde, you can start to feel that those changes as well a few months before that they happen. And when they go retrograde, it's really making you go back and understand or view something from a different perspective, maybe that you missed. That's what retrogrades are about. It's about looking back and maybe gaining insight into something that you probably didn't have a full understanding of beforehand, something you might have missed. Okay, and these are, like I said, the outer planets, which are affecting you at a soul level. So it's asking you and forcing you to get real with yourself. Okay, that's what this war was about. You are experiencing a internal war, and it's a tug of war, right, with accepting what is truth for you and what is not, and asking you to let it go so that you can really get what is, again, for your highest good. Now for me, what I wanted to talk about quick is I am having a 7-year personally, right? So 7 is about learning through sacrifice. It's also about spiritual alignment, but this is aligning like your chakras, all 7 chakras. And so it's a spiritual alignment, okay? And 7 is a beautiful thing. So I'm experiencing a 7-year along with a 3-year, and it's a 5-month. To say that, and when you can start to feel the effects of your year. So like I started to feel the effects of my 7-year around August, September of 2018. I started to feel the effects of that 7-year coming on. So you start to feel these shifts. Everything in the universe is powered by numbers. Okay. But so with that, those 3 right now. Okay. I am also experiencing a Saturn return and a Jupiter return. Okay, and these are the moments that these planets align with the exact time I was born. So they line up with my birth chart. And I started to experience, or Saturn came heavy into my chart on December 21st of 2018. And Saturn will be visiting with me for a couple of years, because Saturn stays around for, I want to say, is it 9 years? I might be wrong. But Saturn lingers. It doesn't transit as quickly as, like, say, Mercury or some of these other planets. It doesn't transit through certain signs and houses as quickly as the other ones do. And again, I don't want to get too deep into trying to explain astrology because it's a lot to it. But Saturn came into my life, I'll just say, real heavy starting December 21st. So, and I didn't realize what was going on because I've always been an astrology junkie, But to say that I understood it at the depths that I understand it now, I really didn't. So I started to feel effects. I talked about my dark night of the soul and all of that. But once I came out of that dark night of the soul, there were still other things happening. I wasn't unhappy, but I knew that things were shifting. I no longer wanted to be at my job. And I couldn't have stayed if I wanted to, because Saturn was making me face some truths, as was Jupiter. They were making me face truth. So when I was like, I'm about to quit my job and all of this, and even I didn't understand it, I'm looking to spirit like, you sure? You sure? Like, I'm really supposed to quit my job? Like, I'm not really at a space and place where it'll be the best move for me to quit my job. And now that I'm understanding at a universal level, at a spiritual level, I wouldn't have been able to stay even if I wanted to, because I was being forced to be true to what was working for me, what was not working for me, what was making me happy, what was making me unhappy. And Saturn was making me realize this even before it was time for it to come into my chart, because I quit my job on December 15th was my last day. December 15th, 2018 was my last day, and Saturn didn't really come into my chart heavy until December 21st, right? So I started to feel the effects of this a little while before, because I had been thinking about walking away from my job, before then. And along with that came the flooding of my house, ending a relationship with somebody who I thought I would ultimately end up eventually spending the rest of my life with. I've known this man for 29 years, and we had been on again, off again. And I just knew that that particular time we were going to get it right. And it was a no. Just so much crap that has transpired even financially, okay? And it was, I believe, an ego death and the dark night of the soul is something totally different. An ego death is making you understand yourself and how to be objective. Okay, so when I talked about earlier how not to judge dark and light, not to say that darkness is bad, everything that's in the dark is bad, and everything that's in the light is good. That's what an ego death is. An ego death is causing you to be more objective and understand that everything in life is a matter of perspective. People can only love you from their place of perspective. People can only understand you from their place of perspective, how far they have ascended. So the dark night of the soul is about ascension, right? And coming to understand things at a universal level, where an ego death is understanding things at a personal level. Okay, so it's those types of things, and this is why May is a huge deal. May is causing you, everybody globally, to understand themselves, because 8, if I didn't say, I know I talked about it being a vision, but 8 is wisdom, and it has the vibration of a force, which is about stability and all of that. So next year globally will be a 4, and this is why we are being forced to get real this year in the 3-year, because we need to stabilize out come next year, right? And we will start to feel the effects of that 4 year come August. I will start to feel the effects of my 8-year, come August. So for stabilizing, structuring, and all of that type of thing is what comes with that 4 year. And with that 8 comes, the wisdom to be able to handle what you've created. And because 8 is like strength, and I can't think. I'm having a brain fart right now. But I want to say it's yeah. So like strength, independence, and your wisdom. Okay, so it's essential when you are creating, period. Let's just say creating, period, because you have to be able to handle what you've put into play. And that's why another thing that this year and this month is about rest. I'm being forced to rest because there has been just so much going on with my life that my body and my mind will like literally shut down. And I can't just keep going and going no matter how hard I try. I can't. This is another reason why I haven't really made a lot of videos along with everything else that has been going on, is because with all this transition and these transformations and having a 3-5-7 year, or a 3 and a 7 year and a 5 month, it has just been, it's been beautiful but overwhelming. Okay, like I'm not mad at what's going on in my life at all, because I gotta say I'm happy with the me that is coming out of all of this. But I can't act like it hasn't been a little overwhelming all at the same time. And I pretty much got rid of everything, y'all. Like, I got rid of everything. And like, I still have some of my furniture, but at the end of the day, I don't even want that. Like, I'm about to give that away and like I just start from scratch. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Business is picking up. It will pick up. It's going to pick up with the site being open. So like, this is a new beginning for me. I have been seeing for 3s, 9s, 6s, and 4s. Those have been the number, and 7s, of course, have been very prominent in what I have been seeing in my synchronicities, and I understand fully what that is about. And if you'd like to understand some of the synchronicities you've been seeing and all of that, don't forget to visit me, and we can, talk about that type of thing and help you understand this stuff that's happening in your life at a soul level, not just at a personality level. And that's another thing. Personality is a persona. It's what we put out. That's part of that ego, what you present to the world. And this is asking you, are you presenting it authentically, or are you projecting something out there that you feel like will draw people to you, that'll make people like you and want to be around you? Or are you being authentically you and attracting the people who are necessary for your highest good to help you be on your path and helping others? Because ultimately, it's about helping others, okay? At the end of the day, it's about helping people come to a realization of self and who they are, and helping them be creative and helping them to be complete and whole and all of that. That's really what it's ultimately about. That's unconditional love. Unconditional love is not projecting what you feel should be reality for somebody else onto them. And when I said something earlier about how predictions worked in the Bible and all of that, that's what I mean by that type of thing. You know, we get messages and downloads from the universe, and we are quick to go ahead and tell somebody else about it without fully understanding. I was quick to tell people about this war globally that was happening in May, and I didn't fully understand that it wasn't necessarily guns, wars, that type of thing. And when I said that we would be attacked, you are vulnerable in these stages when you are having internal conflict and you are kind of overwhelmed. This is why you need the rest. And people will try and take advantage of that. Okay, so it's that same type of concept. It's not to say that war might not happen. It's a lot of crap going on in the world with politics and all of that. But when war came to me, it was about understanding it on a personal level. And even in religion, when we talk about certain things like the coming back of Christ, it's not that he will physically return, or it's the return of like consciousness. It's the Bible is a trip through consciousness. And I don't want to get into that because that will get real deep. But I just wanted to say it's interpretation and perception. And this is a time of us teaching and understanding, teaching and learning and understanding what was preached, taught, and all of those things from the right perspective. Okay? And not judging somebody for where they are in their understanding, but being compassionate and saying, okay, you haven't made it to where I am just yet, but when you're ready, I'm going to plant the seed and it'll be increased when you are ready. Okay, that's unconditional love. Not forcing somebody to be where you are. Not even forcing yourself to try and be at a different level than what you are. You can only be in the here and right now. Okay? I hope all of this made sense, and this was necessary to put out to help people understand, you know, what they might be experiencing this month. Because, oh my God, that battle, that struggle. So if you're seeing somebody and they saying that they depressed and, you know, they're struggling emotionally, this is why. It's at a cosmic level that we are being shifted, and they might not understand where they are. They might be complaining, and every time you see them, it's like a woe is me, and they don't really fully understand what is going on with them. Send them to somebody who can help them understand. Not just me, but if you know somebody else who can help them, go ahead and send them to somebody and try and get them help to understand where they are energetically, what's going on at a global level and at a spiritual level, at a soul level. Okay. Again, if you want to book some insights with me, you can at consciouslyyunconscious.me. I appreciate you listening for this almost hour-long video, but it was very necessary for me to put out, and I was supposed to put it out a little while ago. I'm not even going to say that because I didn't have full understanding to the capacity that I do now. So again, I hope this helped. I love you all. Thank you so much for visiting the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will holler at y'all in the next one.